Yeah, which is, again, one of his strengths as well.
And also, think about being that guy, right? The game's about to start, so we'll get into it. But think about being the guy where you're doing all the comms for people, trying to help people, and then they're just not even telling you outright what they actually think of stuff, you know, and it's all resentment and stuff. What a terrible scenario to be in. So you wouldn't know anything about that playing in a team with Stu 2K because, listen, again, just a lot of happy families, a lot of great memories. So you, Shroud, you know, it was all cool from day one and still cool to this day.
Hey. I could sit next to all
Here's the thing, right? I know someone must have suggested you this before, Jordan, but if esports gets big enough, I really want you to have your own weed strain, and it should be called Nothing OG.
Nothing OG.
I want it to be an OG Kush strain, and it's got, you know, it's one that's going to be like, it's, you know, it's got a mellow vibe to it.
What would your strain be called?
Probably just like, yeah, what would I go for, really? Here's the thing.
You could just say red, like
just for
fire,
me,
like
just for me, it'd have to be, yeah, fire banter. There you go. So it'd have to be like, you know,
fire bands,
some strong hybrid with like a nice bit of fever in there, energetic, you know. And it'd obviously have to have like red hair.
Red hair
it, you know,
OG.
of course. Yeah, there you go. On the nuggets, those dank nuggets. I said nuggets.
Dank nuggets.
Right. Anyway. There we
Spit
go.
another beat.
This is how you know that's going to be an interesting series. If you can play Nuke and Overpass, you can have a good series against NRG.
Yeah.
So you won the T-Pistol, which is obviously so key on this map, especially with all those...
I always love this play, the ramp thunder ladder. I don't know why.
But I think
Pistols?
I guess this is starting to be a while ago.
They've been running that since literally like Executor played CS.
Yeah. But like, even when you saw VP...
NOA's old pistols.
When VP had their good string of, or good run at on Nuke especially, they would do this every pistol round. It's like, we're running ramp, and depending on if we find someone or not, we're either going down towards lower, or we're going under heaven, yeah.
Right, here's the thing, by the way. If you look at the buy from NRG here, where you fully bought up but with pistols, this suggests that unless you win this round, you are going to be doing the full buy on the 4th round.
Yeah.
Because it looks like you want, you know, the alt circ and you want the full utility.
Unless it's like a 1v1 in this round, then maybe they'll force buy again.
Yeah.
But you know, if you lose the 2 round, then I don't think next round you force it again. It just wouldn't make any sense for the economy that you're going to be on.
And plus you want to get an op in Cirque's hand.
Here's my issue with this though. Like, this just gives you the same buys you would have had in round 3, just in round 4. You're still running into the same issue as you did in the old.
Depends if you want
patch,
the op, right? That's the problem.
Yeah.
No, because they're just spending whatever excess money they got from losing the pistol in this one.
Compound interest, bro.
Clearly can. That's the concept every CS player needs to get around on. They're actually winning the round, though, so.
Yeah, but the other thing is as well, like, I mean, nowadays, as you see here, they're obviously not all going to have AKs. Some people are going to have SMG, MP5. Like, I don't mind actually doing the CZ buy on this round, because if you get them close, CZ versus MP5, that's fine. I'll take that battle every now and then, you know.
Also on Nuke, a common play for the Ts that win pistol is like the low utility usage AK outside, and everyone goes and fights from the red box.
Yeah.
So maybe they thought they could get them coming into the ingresses, you know, of lower.
Yeah,
and
I mean, no doubt they have any sort of, like, they have some sort of logic to
train in that sense where you could force buy, and if they don't rush outside and you can get close to them.
This is wild.
You can make a lot happen.
So because of Cillian, just didn't feel he just had to give up the round.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, timer's running down.
Look at the spot he's in now. Look at his money.
It's also that loss bonus, though, because now...
That's brutal. Look how much money they have. That's so brutal. And they're forcing.
Yeah. Well, they don't really stand too much.
I'm not liking this force, though. Like, they have to, obviously.
This is where you have to get real grimy. Like, get under heaven this round. Trade right here on one of these guys outside.
This is where I hate when someone sprays like that, by the way. Like, when you spray like that and they have deagles, you're just sitting there while people all slowly fire deagles. Like, I know why people do that, like, especially if you come from 1.6 in your brain, you're like, well,
this should work.
I'm gonna kill them if I keep spraying. But like, you'd be better off just jiggle peeking the angle there, bursting on them, you know.
Yeah, I just kind of instinct that.
You sometimes peek. Well, you peek that first angle, and you're kind of standing tall, and you're just thinking maybe this first guy will go down fast, and there's. At the same token, 2 more guys swinging the screen, so you just kind of your brain just lags on the mouse.
Yeah,
a little bit,
I'm not blaming the player. Like, by the way, there's really good players that do that as well. It's just one of those areas where like pros don't always make the most effective play. You know?
Yeah, for sure. It'd be probably better to just dance on your feet a little.
Like, put it this way, if this was like the NFL and you had some coach, that's what he'd tell you. Like, oh, in that scenario, don't worry about trying to kill them all. You know, just take one, call it, like then you can repeat once we help you.
Early round on a rush, always be ready for that. Yeah. He also another thing too is he had
oh, this is brutal.
he had a teammate mini garage, so he could have just felt like, you know, sometimes people
He might have also thought
just
to rush him.
stood there and his
Yeah.
teammate's going to be shooting the same angle.
What is that,
The
Daps?
Daps not-
What is that? What on earth is
He
that?
should have just didn't notice that 2 went down. Or
I mean,
no,
they can't
they
get
had
the bomb
five-
down
yeah.
at the moment, so at least
But
that's
no,
okay. But
they're getting the bomb down. Yeah, behind
What?
silo. Yeah.
that's a joke. So wait a minute. That was just 5
People
dry
run-
Glocks, right?
That
I
was
assume they
five
had-
Glocks running through Squeaky.
But they had no armor. It was just
Yeah,
like
like
The
through a
molly
Molotov.
didn't go far enough. I think it went short.
No, I think the molly landed, but Dabs took like
Too
a
late.
wide turn
Basically,
before he swung in.
considering
late
you
or
won the round,
something.
obviously, that's one of the worst losses you could take for a 1 round on Nuke there. Letting a eco of Glocks just get the bomb down.
Yeah.
That's outrageous. That's an area, right? I might do a video on this topic, actually, where I think that people haven't adapted to the CT economy being so frail. Because nowadays, you can't play like you used to before, which is like, I'm just trying to win the round. So as a result, in certain scenarios, I'll give up this guy dying if it means I kill the guy. Like, you actually don't want to trade very much on CT, in as much as, especially on maps like this, I think on,
Train
the
is pretty terrible
examples
to
like
play.
Inferno's a really tough one as well. On those maps, the ultimate premium is you have to lose as few people on CT as possible.
Yeah.
It ain't about just win the round anymore, because actually, you lose 2. Sometimes that having to force back on that is wrecking your economy.
Like that, you have that golden rule, right? Like if you survive with 3 players, then you can kind of build an economy on CT side. But
That's cool. I like that. That's like old train style where they spam Brown Hall and Rush. They just had the guy outside tapping the
mask
the
footsteps.
metal of the garage, and then they dropped on the mini. So Heroics showing a little street ball style right there.
it reminds me of like how I don't know if you guys did this in NA, but back in 1.6 on
Is it an EU thing?
No. Again, it's like it's not. You didn't see like
Did you hold your
pro teams
pinky
do
out while you
it, you know, after 2005 or something. But you know, on Nuke when you would run outside of radio on the T
the
T side,
credit
outside
card
11,
thing.
yeah,
To fake that they were going
get
to round.
get all the nades
No,
out.
yeah, that came in late, but
That-
yeah, that was the thing.
That was it. The thing is, though, that used to work, obviously, if they were playing aggressively in ramp. Like, they would definitely ramp in.
Yeah.
Because
And I mean, it would work because 1.6 had good sound.
Well, plus, logically, the radio room was like a magnet for grenades, because if you throw it in there, like, there's no way
Goes
it can
through
go.
walls
and
as well.
remember, in 1.6, it just hits everything
Remember the
around it.
corners where you would nade stack corners through walls? Yeah.
Yeah. I used to do
Yeah,
that
for
for
sure.
Because you
Nuke
can
is
also
like
do
the
the
prime
you can
map for
also
that.
do the same thing on the ramp itself. Like if you know that they're all just about to come out in the ramp, you just put a nail so it
In that
lands
left
under
corner.
the edge of that wall and it goes through the whole wall.
Yeah.
I will say that effect obviously should not exist in a game. Like it's illogical that a grenade goes through the wall, but the wall stays there. Like,
Yeah.
but there was something intuitive about it. You know, it made sense.
Yeah.
Like I always tell people that.
Like
That's the reason
splash
why
damage.
that's the reason why the spamming isn't as bad as people who didn't play 1.6 know, because there was a logic. Like you knew, like if there's one texture, it goes through that. If there's 2, it's like only an AWP and Deagle go through it or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
there's a logic to it. You know, you knew what. Whereas in CS:GO, that's the problem. There is no logic as to what's spammable. You just have to learn if this texture works or not.
Basically, I have to just hire Anders to shoot
That's why
at
Anders
every
finds
wall.
so many mad spams that like you don't think even is a spam, and
So
it
you have
goes
to like
through.
clip brush the whole
Yeah.
thing.
I'll be back in a minute, actually.
I mean, you would know that. Like, okay, like Nuke was a bit of a nightmare to play in 1.6 in that sense. So,
Yeah.
'cause, like with splash grenades, the fact that you can wallbang pretty much anything.
I probably average like 75, 80 around just through walls.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
yeah. I
that.
mean, with, like you have so many highlights of you just basically you're holding inner
Yeah.
from
Throughout
yard.
the full retake setup, and you do like half health to every T player before you even see him, or kill them all. in some
Yeah,
cases.
exactly.
But yeah, that was fun. I mean, I didn't think it was too imba because at the time you just
Again, it's kind of something like everyone's accustomed to, so you do position yourself according to the wallbangs that people, I guess the commonly used wallbangs
started
as well,
thinking
right?
of it when you entered ramp as a T. You didn't stay in that lane near the box holding under heaven, right?
Exactly.
You quickly like shuffled out of it. And if they were stuck there, and I did see my CT teammate pinning a guy with an op from under heaven, I would spam that lane because there's a good chance someone's like avoiding my opper right there, and I would just 2 and 2 together really fast. So you get a spam kill, and that was me and a lot of other players' like main thing to do on maps like that.
Yeah.
Ooh, a heroic. Looking so far so good on this T side, aside from losing that pistol in those
Ooh.
early, or aside from losing that eco round
This is the thing
and
that
going back and forth.
I just have unlimited faith in any team with any Dane in it playing Nuke. I don't know why, but
Even on T side, huh?
yeah, no, they're excellent on T sides a lot of the time. I mean, well, again, I feel it's a cop out to say Astralis because they do
Now.
it. Yeah, I mean, they're a bit of an anomaly in that sense. But yeah, like even if you go back to like Western Wolves days or Copenhagen Wolves, if you want, like all these teams we're able to have like reasonable T sides in a meta where Nuke predominantly was like a 11, 4, 12, 3 CT map. But I feel like they just liked playing it. Normally you run into so much resistance if you want to play, a 10-man or something, and you're choosing the map. Nobody's going to voluntarily say like, oh yeah, let's play Nuke.
Everyone's always like Mirage, Train.
Yeah, or
Cash.
Cash, exactly. But what I noticed, like when playing with Danes, they're like, yeah, let's play Nuke. And there's like, awesome. For some reason, they really like the map, and they always have. And do you actually? Okay, so obviously this is a little bit of rollback in terms of time, but did you like kind of, I guess, reverted changes being made to Nuke, like removing the outer bird walk kind of thing and everything that they added?
I didn't really know how I felt because I haven't played much on it like high level since the change. Just like literally scrimmages and pugs and stuff. And
yeah.
It seems like it added a little bit of balance to outside fights. The T's can kind of like throw their wall, and now because before you dealt with like the close corner on catwalk, the far spawn peak, the far catwalk peak, the bottom garage peak, and then the stairs peak, and so it was very much like if the CTs wanted to gamble outside, they were gonna like get kills.
Yeah.
Now if they gamble outside, it's much more straightforward. Like they're gonna have to rush secret, or they're going to have to peek you from above heaven.
One thing I love, though, is, like, so obviously the first place that everyone figured out is, like, the good spot to Molotov, so it distinguishes the Smokers on the Mirage window room, because that was the really famous one. But, like, what I love about Nuke is the good teams have figured out so many spots where if you molly, it just wrecks their initial smokes if they throw them there.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually, like, a mechanic that it just shows how in the game you can never expect Valve to know what someone's going to do with something. Like, you have to just give people the tools and let them work with it, because it's actually quite a clever idea, like you put it like slightly too early so it messes up the guy's smoke. There's a little gap in it. He doesn't know that till he runs out. That's like a pretty good meta switch to have, I think.
Yeah. Again, you do see some teams adapting to that as well. So they do the initial smoke wall, but they don't throw the smoke that's meant to land close to T-Rad, like the first connection smoke towards secret. Like they actually throw that, because that's the one that gets mollied out a lot of the time. Like the one that bounces at the edge of T-Red and goes towards secret.
Yeah, so they'll save the ladder for on the fly while they're in
yeah, exactly. So they put down the initial smoke that lets you get behind T-Red, then they just do an underhand toss.
But what's cool then is then you could, like, if you're like a solid individual reader, like right when that meta shift happens, you get aggressive. Like, so you throw your molly, you get close T-Red, and you know the T who gets close is going to come and whip out an underhand. So right when you hear the pin pull, you just get close red and swing, and you're going to, like, get 2 kills. And then now you're mind-fucking them.
That is one thing I actually do think they should remove, is the sound of the pin being pulled out,
Yeah, it's not always
I'm
anymore.
not really a fan of it.
It makes, like, one place where just, like, I think every CT player loves that, and whoever plays Pop on Train. When you just hear all the pins just,
pop.
popping.
Ting, 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 ting.
Exactly, and just know that something's about to happen.
Because the reason why I would rather it was removed, it's the same reason why I hate that change that they made, which I know why they did it for casuals, where if your teammate sees someone, they show up on your radar. Like, the reason I hate these particular like additions to the game is because they take away from the guy who's just a fucking genius at the game. His game, like, so the best example, the one you just picked there, if you want to talk about like Pop Dog on Train, I think legit one of the best players ever at that in CSGO has to be FNX when he was on SK Gaming.
Oh, he was a god at that.
Because the thing about that position, it's the same in 1.6. Is like,
he's there.
you have to have amazing sense for where the enemy is, because obviously if you're looking the wrong way, someone kills you from mid, someone can come out of the alley and kill you if that's not covered. So you not only have to know exactly where your teammates are, what they're going to do, but you have to have such a great feel for, like, when are they going to come from this spot, when do I switch over? Because if you can do it like he did, you dominate the map.
And you can
tell if you get it wrong at all, it's so costly.
And you can tell how much of an issue that was for SK as well when they got Phelps in, because Phelps
they made him play the same spot. Yeah.
Exactly, but he's not a cerebral player like FNX.
He has better aim, clearly, but like that just showed you how. That's the funny thing. Like, if you had to pick between the two SKs, I know it's going to sound obvious because the other one won the 2 majors. People are going to go, well, obviously I'd pick that one. Yeah. No, but they were just a better team, and like as a team. Yeah. Now the firepower was better on the other one, but that 2016 SK, their team play was unreal.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, and I said that yesterday about FNX too. Is there's been a couple other scenarios that I'm sure if we thought about it, we could talk about them. But where you have a team, they have a player who no one probably really talks about on the Reddit much, but playing against that guy, because he's already amidst other sick players like Fallen and Cold and Fur, you already don't want to just take a dumb peek versus these guys.
Of course.
FNX is aware of that. He's overpass. You remember he was one of those guys, they would do the default smoke bathroom, and he would walk through the smoke to long bathroom and get contact. And if he got contact and died, his team would just flood up and win the round. But if you weren't in a good position, he would end up like snaking a kill off you, and then you just didn't know where he was going because he had that like
just messes up your rotations completely, right?
And yeah, on trade actually, because we studied them all that during that era, I was always trying to copy what he did on a lot of things. Yeah, that's like the phase thing when you have like Nico and Guardian and all these guys and Rain. Like, luckily Olaf as like a star player isn't like super flashy, because if he was also like a Nico, things would be like awful probably there.
I still think that's the thing that they lack. Like I always tell people this: if I'm the general manager of FaZe, I would remove a player, but I would remove a player in exchange for someone like that. Like, I thought the move that would have been the dream was when G2 changed their lineup and NBK was on the bench. I would have put NBK on FaZe.
Good utility player all around, yeah.
They're going to help the in-game leader so much, because part of the reason why it didn't make sense in Karrigan's case is, like, he's the only one, really, that's looking at the tactical end of the equation. So you got to have someone helps you. And they obviously, the whole point is, like you say, with those players, you don't need any more firepower. You got all the sick fraggers anyway,
and it's
so
not
you need
like,
the team structure.
And then you talk about someone like FNX and NBK, and in the convo, you can make them sound like they're bad or something. Whereas it's just a context of like, okay, people like Nico and Rain, they just connect so many shots in a way that's a little bit more like finesse. But someone like FNX and NBK, in many scenarios, have carried games and played super well. And,
No, my analogy for that would be like, it's like if you have some basketball team, right, and you have like two really good scorers. In that scenario, you don't want to just keep adding more and more scorers. You probably want some like amazing like hustle player, power forward that gets all the rebounds when they miss, you know. It's like you want something that balances the team out. You don't want to be one-dimensional, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas
well,
like
Steve Nash, I remember, I don't know a lot about basketball, but I remember thinking it was really sick. He had that sports science where they were saying he like talks and has like an interaction with his teammates like over 125 times a quarter or something.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Like some like small micro acknowledgement and like on average double the amount of any player. I'm like, that's gotta be pretty impactful on a team.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of having that connectivity. So in the server, yeah, there's certain players that bring that factor of comfort.
Well, plus, like we saw with the whole Stickle thing, again, if I had to guess something else about FaZe, obviously we don't have the comms, so I can't know. I doubt that they have the best comms. I doubt they're even close. Because when you have that many players that are so good at looking at their crosshair and shooting people, they can't be talking.
Oof.
It's going to be so unlikely.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
You need a couple of, like for me, part of the comm structure is you got to have a couple of people who are super efficient, but like they always nail every comm.
Yeah. Which is really, really damn hard to do.
That's actually another aspect as well, by the way, where the coaching change really affected the game. Because even some of the coaches who weren't like, you know, some tactical genius, the good thing is they could comm for a player that they notice isn't saying something like, oh, actually they're going to come like from his side. Like,
two on the right, go left.
He can just he can fill in the gaps in the comms and that. So yeah, that was really useful, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's another reason why I thought that Na'Vi team got way worse when Starix couldn't be the in-game leader, because I've no doubt he was doing a whole bunch of that.
That's actually a super underrated like kind of topic too, I think, because I think even like I said when I played on Mouse, that's what I was really impressed with like Sunny, is when you have a player like that, you could judge their performance all day and talk about like how they didn't carry the team to a match, but someone like that, they're not just playing the game off the cuff when they approach. And that's like that's why I think Stu started impressing a lot of players at the pro level, because you could tell he wasn't just trying to underhand a flash through every smoke. He was doing that because he did find a way to abuse something that people weren't doing. But like Sunny, every map we played, even when he didn't feel like he was getting kills, I felt like when he said something,
it was a value.
It was a very like he observed the round, he observed the defense, and that was like the obvious choice that we would have made if we were sitting there. We have control of this, they're doing this, go here. And it's a listen. And when you have someone like you can trust like that, you don't need him to say a lot, because
everything they say,
you know he's not guessing when he's talking. It's more factual. So, yeah, very underrated. Some aspects of teams, when people aren't making changes, like we were talking about yesterday with the coaching staff, that's the kind of things like when North and these guys are making all these changes and everyone thinks they're crazy. Like, you don't see why they would cut somebody. You don't see why they would keep somebody, because sometimes they're keeping someone who, like, with the current landscape of the team, this person is literally gluing together these rounds for all these stars who are just like maybe eccentric, don't have good comms.
I mean, that's the obvious example. Like, since you gave North there, it's got to be easy, right?
Yeah.
Because if there's that many smart people involved with that team, and by the way, people like Wimp and Ave, they're like, you can do the old cliche, like they've forgotten more about Counter-Strike than most of us will ever know. Like, these guys have been through it all. So if people like them aren't even considering moving someone like him. I'm going to go ahead and assume he does some like really essential stuff or has like an amazing attitude to the game, or maybe in practice he's just one of those guys who, like, you know, if you want to dry run something, he does exactly what you want. Like, they sound very pleased with him, so I don't think that's a coincidence. You know, these guys aren't idiots. It's not like this scenario where people get mad at G2 because they think that, you know, Smith's only there because Shox wants. It's not like that. It wasn't like he's just NMSL's pal. Like, it's clearly a good reason why they have him in the team. I agree he's never going to be the AZ of old. That ship's just sailed, you know, but who says you need him with that much talent in the Danish scene?
Like, he might do better.
Mertz. Speaking of talent, we got Mertz over here, but Mertz is Danish, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I've heard good things about his aim.
His problem is, like, he's kind of like the Danish Draken. Like, he has talent and he can hit some nut shots, but his problem when he was in North was like the consistency, which is what you mainly you're going to judge an All-Pron, was very, very up and down. Like, some games just miss everything. It wasn't the guy who's just going to hold the angle, you know, and hit X shot.
Yeah. He's
but
still
then again, the
very
problem
fresh,
they had
though.
was, I mean, I can't blame them, because think about the reason why they went to him, or they could have gone to Yugi, who's like a similar type of player in some ways. Sadly, the reason why I don't blame him for giving it a shot is because they had just come from having Cajun B do the opposite style, where he was just only doing the safe angles, and as a result, you know, they didn't give him a lot of versatility. So it's like that scenario, you know, you break up with one girl, she's
Talk
you
to
know,
us about it, Duncan.
she's too conservative, you know. You have to be so proper on your P's and Q's. Next thing you know, it's like there's a Joe Rogan bit in his latest stand-up. Next thing you know, you're just dating an absolute. You want that? You want the girl with the clear heels, the mood ring. She's just like, yeah, should we make that a double tequila? You're like, I like the way you think.
I want to see Duncan do a stand-up.
Here's the sad thing, mate. I think I could do it. Like, obviously, I'm not going to say I could do it like a professional comedian, obviously, because like the years of like technical ability that they have is amazing. But like, say there was an esports tournament and they wanted to do a thing. So I'll give you a great example. You know when they do like their ESPYs every year, Esports Person of the Year?
Yeah.
Like, now for those people, they get athletes and they basically have them like, you do all jokes and whoever the host is sort of roasts all the audience, right? But the difference is, that's all, they write that material for the guy, you know, they give him all the jokes, etc. I reckon I could do that legit if I was like the host. I could do some pretty good.
Yeah, because that's like, obvious you spend a lot of time. This is like a hobby and a career for you. Like, it takes someone, I think, you have to be studying and putting due diligence and kind of. We talked about this on Joe Rogan where he was talking about comedy and fighting and like information chunking. Like,
Sure.
if you've already spending a lot of time thinking about these jokes and then you do a lot of routine with it, like, that's all it is knowing how to deliver, but also literally having a lot of little mannerisms built up.
No, but my point there was like it'd have to be obviously in the esports context. Like, I'm not just going to go to like the Apollo or whatever and try and do just
open mic.
Hey guys, I just flew in and boy, my arm's tired. It's like I'm going to go do that. I'm like, I'd never succeed in that respect. But if it was an esports thing,
don't doubt yourself before you try, Duncan.
I would love to see an esports roast with like
You
Richard and
I have never watched
Duncan.
one of those Twitch ones. Have you guys? Are they any good at TwitchCon?
I just
I
stayed
saw the
clear
kid
of that
making fun of
immediately.
Ninja, where he's like, "Hey, Ninja, your fans can come inside because they didn't meet the age requirement." And I was like, everyone's like, "Yeah, you got him there."
Yeah.
His fans are young. Did you see the God Complex?
By the way,
Twitch?
that would be fun as if they had it.
Did you see that kid? Oh man, that
No,
was
here's the
hilarious.
thing though. I actually liked
Please
it.
recap that for.
I liked that because, by the way, I wasn't even joking.
How
That's exactly how I think.
I know, but what was the
By the
deal?
way, anyone. Right, there was a guy who's a streamer, and he was
Okay,
asked.
yes, but
he was
like,
asked by a super
clarify.
obnoxious fan who goes like, "When I watch your stream, I don't really feel like I can relate to you.
Can
I
you
want
clean
to-"
up the edges a little bit on your statement there? Just restate that.
What?
Yeah, because I know you think that, but like clarify.
No,
How much-
I absolutely do think I'm better than most of the people who are watching my stream. Or I don't do a stream anyway, but, you know, do think I'm a bigger personality. Don't really give a fuck what any of them think. So.
Okay, all right. Well, you know, we could talk about that later over some quiet time and some static white noise.
Here's the problem, right?
Reprogram a couple.
The problem with that is, like, by the way, I'm not trying to be like a super charismatic, loved streamer. So his flaw there was wrong audience to say that to. Like, in his scenario, you don't gain anything to say that. People are just going to hate on you. You know? I can do it because I'm trying to be sort of like the villain, aren't I? I don't really care if you care. Like, I can come out like in wrestling and be like, "Hey, Springfield, you fucking suck." Like, you know, I can do that. Like, that's my shtick. But he can't do that. But the reason why I say like I like that is because, first of all, you know how many people in esports secretly would agree with that. It's just publicly they're going to lie and be like, no, you guys, you fans are the whole reason I'm here. And, like, everything's for you. And, like, I know that.
Anonymous.
there's so few people who would like that. A lot of that's just bullshit, sadly.
Not you though, Jordan. Right?
Well, no, I'm pretty like transparent whenever someone does that. People come in and ask me for like help or personal help and problems. I'm like, listen, guys, you're a psychologist.
Yeah, sorry.
See someone special.
Yeah.
If you want my opinion, I'll give you my opinion. You're not happy with things lately. Well, you probably need to observe that and analyze it a little bit and come up with acknowledge the problem. And so is that like a God complex because I accept the moment and give them feedback? No, but I do. They're obviously asking me because they seem like, oh, this streamer I look up to has a more stable position in life or something that he wants to give feedback on. But I'm always clear. But by the way, any of you could be me, and that's the only reason I don't like the God complex statement in that context. I was like cleaned up a bit. It's because I know what you mean. You're saying like, oh, you're watching my stream or you're reading my Twitter feed. So obviously in that case, you're like, hey, this is my opinion. I don't need to listen to you.
You put it this way. This will be a perfect example.
I don't like to be like, oh, I'm better than you because you follow me.
Say someone's like, hey guys, let's just talk on my stream and we can all have opinions. It's like, well, no, like the whole reason, like Stim as a stand-up comedian, there's a reason why everyone in the room doesn't have a mic because half the stuff everyone say would be garbage. They're there to be the audience, the person who's on stage, the performer. Now, by the way, it's like being a star player in the game. If I'm the star player and I get to demand all the resources, I now have to deliver. Like if I do a bad job, I get fired. That's the whole point of being the star player. So it's the same if you are like the star of the show. The reason why you get to be egotistical and be like, I'm a bit selfish is because like you have to perform.
Sure. Yeah. On stream, I like when people give their opinions. I like when when my chat gets a little feisty.
So basically, you want them to like backseat game
yeah,
whenever you play, right?
I love it. I actually.
So God damn, Jordan, why did you do that? That's just.
I think it's fine.
Stupid.
Some people are just being like pricks for the sake of it. I like when people are like, if someone's like, "Wow, that's a terrible peak, Jordan or X, Y, and Z," I start laughing with them. I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably right." So I guess it also depends on. That's the thing. If it is your show, you kind of control.
Of course.
What goes on?
Control how you want the show to go. Thank you, Marcus. James RL, shout out for the couch massages.
Free back rubs. Rogue are putting together like a really, really good T-set here.
Rogue?
Rogue, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said Rogue.
Oh, no,
I heard that in the accent. No, yeah.
Would have been pretty impressive for Rogue
again,
to win this match. Not going to lie.
Like yesterday, right?
Oh, remember they started off, like, yes, they won the pistol, but then they were down, like, what, 1-3 or something, I think it was?
Yes, great T-side.
That's very legit. Let's look like they're going to win this map, to be honest. So the key thing is, if they win this map, now the series gets interesting, because they can play Overpass, so they're going to at least have a crack on the NRG map.
And I mean, just in general, like, again, if you're, I guess, source of, dysfunction is confidence issues, then that's going to bleed out to any map, really. I mean, you're not just confident, or you're not, just uncomfortable on X, Y, and Z map. Like, that's something that's inherently, like, you're not performing to the level that you should.
I have to say as well, like, that's an area as well where, like, I think it's a bit tricky that we call these people coaches. Because for my money, based on things I've heard from talking to him myself, I would personally call vENdetta an analyst. Like, it seems to me like he analyzes the game, he scouts what's going to happen, he watches the demos, and he gives you the scouting report. Like, coach, to me, is someone who, if there are issues personally in the team, if someone's having confidence problems, if someone hasn't figured out their role, he's literally, that's what he's coaching. That's what he's managing, Whereas in their team, I don't believe that vENdetta does that. Like, it just doesn't seem like it. And so as a result, there's a lack there because you've got all these young players, but, the difference is in Team Liquid, you've got Zeus. Where's the Zeus in this setting? Where's the guy who has the big personality and can kind of like tell people, hey, I've got the experience, this is what we did in my other team. vENdetta, what's he going to do? Like, oh, here's what I did in CLG. Like, yeah, brilliant. And then Ethan's like, yeah, I was sat there, mate. Anyway, could you just get back in that fucking demo? Shut up.
You just need to have one of your talk shows be this, Duncan.
I could do it. That's the thing. Well, here's the thing. I can already go ahead and tell everyone. Because for this last major, obviously I wasn't working it, so we did that thing on Richard's stream, the No Majors Club, where we would all just go on and it's like this, sometimes we talk about the game, sometimes we just talk about whatever.
No, I think I hopped on one of Richard's weirdest.
Well, because for the next major, it's obviously the Katowice one. Well, I'll go ahead and give you the spoiler, guys. I'm not going to do that, whether they ask me or not. So I'll do. We're going to do it again. That's the plan, for Katowice to do it. It'll be another kind of couch type setting. In fact, for that one, depends where we're at when we get to February, but I was even thinking for that one, since Richard has like a pretty badass house, I might even just go out there for the week.
Where does he live?
He lives in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah?
It's a pretty cool place he's got, though. It's a nice setup. I can see why he's moved there. So it'd be pretty cool to do it in person, you know?
Definitely. Just watch out for the scorpions.
Well, keep the doors closed. You got screens, you know.
Wasn't it Sam who got like stung by a scorpion or something, like in the kitchen?
Your boy Bainlaw. Maybe.
Who's this? Sam who?
Is that Richard's producer?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, yeah. Oh, he has a stream producer?
Yeah.
All of his stuff for the last few years. Like Richard was never like a super technologically, you know, like advanced guy or whatever. So someone else has been helping him with a lot of the stream stuff.
That's pretty cool.
For years. Yeah, and even more cool, right? Is he didn't know it until he got the guy. So and it purely turned out by coincidence that the guy is from literally the same town in Wales that Richard comes from.
Whoa, wow.
Well, yeah, isn't that insane?
That's cool. Like that's like
and the thing
Jamie,
is, by the way,
who's been a big part of Joe Rogan. You know, Jamie has like, put a lot together for him.
And you know, I'm trying to think what I was going to say there.
Sorry.
What was the example?
Not sorry.
Oh, you know how Fifth Lauren is one of the things he's like infamous for is his laugh, because the whole thing is his laugh makes anything that you talk about anywhere funnier.
Yeah.
There's actually a secret. This is another thing people wouldn't understand about making desks, for example. One of the reasons why I would always want Moses on an analysis desk is because he's also like that. His laugh and like his enthusiasm is so like infectious that like it just makes it sicker when like someone's saying something funny. So that Baylor guy is the exact same. He has an amazing laugh. It's so funny. Because he just has this one way he just gets so buckled. There's so many clips of it on YouTube. You should look it up.
Oh, so he's mic'd up when they do
Yeah, he's not on camera, but you could. What happens is he can like press his button and like talk to Richard, and it comes on the stream. So famously, if there's any like comedy bit, you just press it because they know like his laugh's brilliant. So it makes sense.
That's good. Yeah. We had at one point Sean Garris has a pretty. Him and Shazam both kind of have the like half breath like. I don't even want to fake it and get clipped, but you know, it's like that half breath, like chuckle laugh, where anytime someone says something, they're like the meter of the laugh, like they're the gauge, and it's always like I love having Sean around when something funny was happening because it was like
it's infectious,
so
right?
consistent with whatever was happening. Ryan's trying to ride a suitcase, and Sean just in the corner, you could hear it from.
No, the thing is, after doing like these last few Star Series events that Sean's been at. He's I know everyone thinks naively that every ex-pro could be like an amazing analyst. I'll go ahead and spoil that for you. Most probably wouldn't put in the work to become really great, you know? Like even the ones who had some in-game info. Like first of all, not every pro has tactical info anyway, you know, some of them just put in the game.
No,
and then but the key thing for me with Sean is like because he's so personable, he's the guy where if he decided he wanted to do it full time, he could be the best.
No, and the thing is we were talking about yesterday how Sean as an in-game leader did more work than he needed to, so he naturally has like created kind of a hobby out of like studying like teams.
It's so easy for him to break a team down even when he sees them once, you know. He quickly figures out like what the default is,
what their main focus is. I mean, all the time when I was on his team, I felt bad because I was trying to watch more demos with him or like before games and talk, but I'd still want to ask him questions. And I was like, hey man, I know you feel like you're probably coaching everyone, but like, what do you think about this team's default? Where is it weak? And he'd give me and I made sure to ask it that way because he was spending all practice already explaining everything else. But yeah, that's one of the things even I was talking about with myself coming in as an analyst. I could still kill like some post game segments because I'm like, oh, I've been watching this team. I know all about their strats. This is why they did this double fake and the timing of this player. Watch his POV. He did this because of this. Sean could do early, mid, and late. You know, he understands from the get go. So I think you're spot on there. Yanko is good with that.
Like, if you want to see, like, people are going to think because it's my own content, I'm, like, bigging this up. But actually, the whole point of what I'm about to say is nothing to do with my appearance in the show. If you want to see, I think, legit one of the best pieces of content that I've been able to get onto my channel in the last few years, it's when I did one of those Mount Rushmores with Sean Gers. And the whole point is that I just asked him to pick out 4 in-game leaders in CSGO that, like, influenced him in some way. Like, he thought that something they did was very good. And what's great is it turns out that some of them that he picks were people who, at that exact time, a lot of fans were complaining about. Carrigan, MSL, Zeus. Like, these are players. He referenced Steno, but he picked like Fallen, I think, is the other one.
As like CSGO.
Yeah.
In-game leaders. Yeah.
And so the whole thing that was interesting about it, though, is like his way of breaking down what their style was and what they were trying to do is so fascinating. Like, people didn't realize in that scenario, like, everyone who's like, oh, they're a bad in-game leader. It's like, you can't say that, actually, unless you understand what their system is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So, for example, one of the reasons why I always, like, I in a sick way, I want Carrigan to get kicked from FaZe so that fans realize what he was doing in that team. Because they think it's just everyone fragging everyone's head off. It's like, how do you think a player gets to the position where he's got a aim duel he wins? Like, you don't spawn there. Like, the CTs know you're coming. There's no area you can sneak up on them. So, it's like, if you don't know how they're running, like, because they use like a very effective economy approach where they don't have like full utility, but they were like, it's always the smoke that makes it impossible to read where you're going. The flashbang, you can't tell if that's a fake or if that's Nico coming around the corner next.
Yeah,
like,
the setup smokes,
the system they had, it was very bare bones, but it was amazing.
Yeah,
that's why when it was working, they would just brutalize teams.
I mean, for those who really just can't think far enough back in time, I mean, just look at what FaZe were doing before Carrying came into the team. I mean, sure, they would have a couple of, games where they just ball out, but consistency-wise, FaZe without Kerrigan is not as scary of a team by any stretch of the imagination. That's what good in-game leaders do to a team.
And also to me, like I know a lot of fans are young, so I don't blame them for thinking this way. Like if I was that age, obviously I don't have any like video to prove it, but I'd imagine I probably had very simplistic thoughts as well. But like one mistake when you're examining the game is, so say in this scenario here where we're analysing now, it's all just opinion. Like even if we're giving you opinion, based on years of play or a demo we watched, it's still just our perspective on it, If you ever start thinking that it's about like the right answer or the true answer, you've missed the point completely. Like that's not what we're doing in analysis, Like the best scenario is, like say vENdetta makes a point and we had Steel here and he goes, oh actually I know that player and what he's trying to do is this, That doesn't mean what vENdetta said is wrong. He just has a different perspective on it,
Yeah, which is the...
To me, the more perspectives, the cooler it is. I want to know what everyone thinks and like different angles on it, You
know where that runs rampant? I find in like some of the tier 2 players come up when I spend time playing in like FPL, and I used to see this when I used to play a lot of 10-mans 1.6. There's this like tier 2 player who buys into this like ambiguous cloud of thought that like because he's so close to pro, he like what would it be, like glamorizes? What's the word? He exaggerates kind of what he thinks the actual best players are doing because he's close to the level. And I'll give you the example. Are you ready? I'm going to call him out because I've called him out. You know what I'm saying?
I've called this guy out publicly for this before, so he knows I do it with love. But that is actually what I think like Launders does, because people don't know this. Launders was at like a semi-pro level or something, wasn't he? Wasn't he at like a?
He's playing okay.
Sure. He was at a decent level in CS:GO when he was playing, right?
Well, and in that case too, say your sentiment.
Well, basically the thing he does is like when he breaks down a clip. So famously, he did it with like a video bot Stu 2K on Cash. It's like he looks at all the angles of what's happening, and some of it, like I had to tell him, like, dude, like you did a great job explaining it, but sometimes when you're saying like, and it's clear, Stewie didn't look to his right here because by process of elimination, the guy couldn't have come there, so he pops. It's like I said, some of that stuff he probably just did on instinct. He probably wasn't thinking any of that stuff.
Totally, and it is on instinct.
So even though it's a great breakdown, like for a beginner,
exactly, though.
it'd be interesting.
That is the same.
Like you have thought like that he's more of a genius than he is in that.
No, that is the same stem of thought. Exactly what I'm talking about, and so that happens in analyst stuff and. People, you kind of, and it even happens to tier 2 players that come up and they are so close to it. Launders is not wrong, but as you said, a lot of times, which is why I like explaining stuff on stream as being a player. And after I did a certain amount of lessons with very novice players, I started to realize and be able to say, no, that is a skill set, and he did do this, the process of elimination, etc. But it's only because he played a lot, and that he slowly over time just compounded the realization that these things aren't happening. His only real focus there was bomb was down, he wanted to get that kill, and he was where the flanker. Yeah, he tossed a sick nade and all this, but that's just like subtlety of skill. And so in your point, back to your point, there you could break things down to the nth degree, like why is the heat in this room affecting you, and why did you just change shirts? You can explain a lot of things, but realize actually I was just fucking hot, so I took my shirt off. Like
it's easy to overanalyze stuff.
That's why it's not really. Here's the funny thing: I always go the other way on certain like topics. So, for example, when I give you a great example, when Flusher and Snacks, because both of them in the last year and a half really fell off their game a lot. When they fall off their game, people are like, I don't get it. It's so weird. Why are they not good anymore? It's like it's the other way around. It's kind of crazy that for like 4 years these guys could perfectly pull off like every flank and lurk and always know somehow without even having info where a guy should be and where they could go. That's amazing that they did that for 4 years. Like it makes perfect sense to me that since that was going, in my opinion, entirely off like intuition and feel, that like, well, the day that your intuition is a bit off, you're not going to be able to make any of those plays because, now the time you push in, the guy waiting for you. Now the time you do the flank, you mistimed it, you were too slow, like those sorts of plays. That's one of the toughest skill sets in the game to have, I think. That's why when people have like, I mean, a current example that can still do it is like Cold Zero. Like, Something like that, he could teach you for 100 hours and you wouldn't be able to do what he's doing because like he's just got a gift for it.
We were talking yesterday about that kind of like arrogance and confidence. I think something also happens as you play longer, where because you play longer and maybe you don't have the same amount of FPL hours as you did when you were on the grind coming up, somewhere in your psychology, you subconsciously are like, okay, well, maybe I don't deserve, I'm not like putting in all these hours. Should I expect my performance to dip? Like, I'm not that. And it somehow feeds into really nothing different. I feel like sometimes people like Cold Zero, Olaf, like Olaf took a break. I don't think anything changed with his playstyle when he came back, except Olaf probably said something must have changed. I took a break. I think sometimes that psychology of like, am I still Olaf? Alone,
that plays into
alone goes so deep in a way he's not even processing. Because when you watched Olaf's plays when he was owning, it wasn't like flashy. It's the same as Cold. Walking out top mid roof on Cash. Yeah. He happened to know the highway guy was falling back white box every time. Shoots him in the side, 5v4. His team does some shit A with smokes. He comes through Z, kills a rotator, second kill. Doing that consistently, he's always getting these 20 frags. And everyone's like, oh, Olaf, holy shit. He has the same skill set, the same knowledge, but I think he started doubting himself a little. It's crazy when like someone like Fraud, who was in it for so long, he managed to keep such a performance up. Because I think when you just have such a pure connection to like your instinct and allow it, you don't hesitate, shit like that starts to happen. And Flusha, even when he came to C9, I'm like, there's always a chance that he just wins them in that.
Turns it on.
But if he's doubting himself, or you never know what's going on in his head.
Look at this. This is a perfect example of like, it's actually so underrated in CSGO because of the economy being so bad on CT sometimes. If you just are grouped like that and you're all just tapping at the guy's head, it doesn't matter if he kills two of you. Like, the time it's going to take him to reset between the bursts long range, like, you're going to get chances to kill these guys.
You're not playing against Zet in 1.6 where he just one-taps 3 of you in 3 seconds.
Sadly not.
Old days, but yeah. It's interesting, too, because I don't get to have those combos a lot about, like, I had one with DDK on his
the funny thing is that example you give there is a great example because to some fan, they'd be like, oh, Fraud's just arrogant. It's like, that's one side of it, you know, like it can express itself in arrogance, but that's also a very, very rare quality to be that confident in yourself that you actually are just like, yeah, it's like the equivalent of like, just give me the ball, I'll make the play every time. It's like
kind of some law of attraction.
A lot of people might say that, right? Like they might be like, oh, no, I'm a very confident guy. It's like, you're just trying to convince me of that. This guy actually does believe it, you know.
Yeah.
Like, Fraud really believed, no joke, if you just give him the AWP every round, like, he's going to just kill someone every single time. It's like, he wasn't right always, like, especially obviously at the end of his career, he wasn't as good, but that's quite rare to have true confidence like that in yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
And you need at least, like, one guy with that. Sure, you probably don't want, like, 3, then it's probably going to be a nightmare, you know, but you want at least one guy who
And it's
really
crazy, too, because normally someone has something that breaks their confidence in some way. That was, like, the famous Kobe Bryant thing, the Mamba mentality, right? Yes. I haven't read it all about it, but I know from what I understand, he was like,
I'll give you a
beat
story.
Anybody 1v1, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you a great story that like ties into that mentality, right? Is when he was injured in that 2014 season where his Achilles had been torn, so he had to wait out the whole season getting back in shape, is when he recorded that documentary called like Kobe Bryant's Muse. And in it, right, this wasn't in the documentary itself. Someone did a news story where they followed him around while that was getting made. And what he did was he went to a game where at the time the Brooklyn Nets were playing when they had Deron Williams as their like shooting point guard. And in the game, Deron Williams started the game really badly. He missed like the first 9 shots. He was like 0 for 9. So what he did was, because he's a point guard, he was like, I'll just pass now. So he ended the game, like whatever, 3 for 13 or something, and didn't take many more shots. And what Kobe said, he turned to the guy who's making the documentary for him. He just at the game watching his fans, He just turns to me and goes, see, that never happened to me. Because if I go 0 for 9, I'm going 0 for 30. And like what people didn't understand about that is some people could interpret that as arrogance. Like, what, you'd ruin the whole game for your team? It's like, no, his job is to score baskets. So in his scenario, if I miss the first 9, I'm going to make the next 10. In that analogy, he's saying like I would risk going 0 for 30 to do my job. That's actually a sick mentality to have.
It's very, and I actually circled back around on this. This is like, I feel like we're like blowing smoke. I don't know, like, Anyways. Talking a lot of people just in my stream, I did my course and they were talking about ladder anxiety always, and I never really understood it because back in the day I kind of there's no like ranking system like that, But I explained to people, and the closest I got, which is I think what you're talking about with Kobe sometimes, is like you're so focused on mentality and process and just like making sure when you show up, you just show up, and there's not a thought about like what if or this or that factor, this like that. That's how you get rid of ladder anxieties. You focus on the process, not the outcome. And that could be a very narrow-minded way of like, oh, hey, just focus on this and everything's going to be magically. There is a lot of, like you said, variables too. You might feel this one day, it doesn't matter. You're still focused on going 0 for 30. You went 0 for 9, but my coach's opinion of this, and I don't know if I should. No, Kobe's going to, like, grind away.
Dude, one of the reasons ladder anxiety exists, I did a whole video on this, is because people, sadly, really, really want to be a higher rank than they are. So what they do is they start blaming it like superstitiously. They have a bad game, right? And they go, oh, it's because I was too tired or that. It's like, you know what? That probably didn't help. Like, you know, let's say that affected 10% of the game. All the same, if you'd have like made this better decision here, or you'd actually like practiced something over on a spot you play here, you might win a couple more rounds, you win the game. So like, it's actually irrelevant how you feel. Like, if you really want to have a good rank, then you should play a lot, because the rank should be an average of who you actually are as a player day to day. If you just only play once a week on a Sunday when you feel really awesome, you just had a drink, it's like, even if you get a high rank, that's not your real rank, mate. That's just you if you play in that setting like that, you know. The guy who plays every day, whatever his average is, you just live with it, you know. And by the way, if your rank isn't high, it's not the end of the world. Like, why would you associate that with like your self-esteem? You know, you could be an awesome player who's figured out lots about the game, knows fundamentally what to do. But you know what? You don't have amazing aim. Well, you're never going to be the best rank anyway. I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah. So just become a good player.
All the time.
Just try to be a better player, basically, rather than a better rank. Who cares? The rank will come as you improve as a player.
I've been trying to tell people my new thing has been like, probably first year of Counter-Strike, unbind tab. Like, don't even stop looking at the scoreboard so much, because it sounds so cliche, but it's
famously though, that's what a lot of the Asian teams used to do back in 1.6, like Istro,
really?
WNV. All those teams would unbind tab because it's just a distraction, or that's how they looked at it. It was just
practice
like
or something.
it was just like all it does is take, like, if you're doing well, then yeah, sure, it's
Except
great. But if you're doing
I still
poorly,
use tab to see players live.
oh yeah.
I somehow like ignore like all the new UI CS:GO.
Yeah.
Me.
But yeah, no, they would actually just straight up unbind it, because if you're not starting off too hot, then that's just gonna like bury into your mentality. It's like, oh, I'm 0-5. I'm too far gone.
3 people peek them,
and you've just given them a gun in theory, right?
Ooh.
There we go. There's a guy with a gun, all because you sprayed when 3 people were running in. That's also, by the way, where like even to this day, if you've put, because like people like Modi obviously play a lot of 1.6. If you've played too much 1.6, your brain is programmed to tell you, just keep spraying. If they're running in my spray, they're going to die. It's like they don't die in CSGO, man.
And also,
like,
it feels so easy
happen.
as a player, because the engine runs a little smoother. Like, even though I liked 1.6 movement better, the engine feels smoother in Go.
Sure.
So I'm always tempted to fucking mouse 1 the shit out of everything.
The problem is it's so ineffective in this game, and it's wild.
Yeah.
At the beginning of CSGO, though, it wasn't. And I think that even baited us even further. Because, like, Get Right, a lot of people scream some of those spray transfer clips he had even as a tapper.
Sure, yeah.
Fucking wild.
No, Get Right spray at the beginning was so insane. It was unreal.
Well, because it was more linear, and so you just could, like, you could spray, and then as long as your movement was fast enough to the next target, the spray pattern would just carry to the new crosshair position.
Yeah. No, even though it's years and years old, I actually think that video you made, like, legit, like 4 or 5 years ago, where it was just about how to spray in the game, and you explain, like,
because I was fed up explaining it.
Because the big problem is,
dumped
like,
it on my chat.
Basically, what you explain in that is something that everyone who plays 1.6 is going to misunderstand, which is that it's a totally different way of spraying. Like, basically, you have to, like, have the crosshair at the right height before you spray. Whereas in 1.6, what happens is you start spraying and then you move it onto them because the transfer is so good.
Yeah.
And the reason why, by the way, I've talked to that Sloth Squadron guy where, you know, he's run all the numbers on this. It's because, like, actually, believe it or not, the first few bullets in the spray in CSGO are more accurate for the AK than they are in 1.6. But when the inaccuracy starts to go up and up and up as you spray,
more exponential.
Yeah, exactly. In CSGO, it gets more and more and more inaccurate. Whereas in 1.6, it like about 6 bullets in, it like hits a sweet spot where it kind of stays the same. Right. So once you've caught that, like what speed that's going to be, that's why you can keep it on them.
That's like 90% of the kids who suck at spraying. Their aim is actually the thing that's not that good. So their crosshair starts like a little off, and that first jump throws them. So then they just drop their crosshair down, and then they're just spraying people in the crotch, having already started at the crotch.
Yeah.
Because if you don't think, like, anyone who thinks, like, oh, CSGO is not really about spraying, go watch people like Crims. They are fucking amazing at spraying.
One thing I always had an issue with in CSGO compared to 1.6 with spraying is the fact that I had trouble, like, it sounds like super bland or like super weird, but it's like feeling the feedback of the weapon. Like, that felt really natural in 1.6 in terms of being able to, again, like, recognize the spray pattern, like, to the point where you can control it once you hit that sweet spot, right?
I even
never
think
really got
part
to
of
that
it,
point
like,
on CSGO.
I haven't really like looked into this, so I can't know for a fact. But one of the reasons why I would say is because, in 1.6, the feedback is very intuitive. Like, I actually felt like, no joke, part of it is that your eyes seeing on screen the way the gun starts to buck. So when it bucks right, you know, like pull left, you just unconsciously learn to do that. Like, you're not really looking. It's like your peripherals looking at it. In CSGO, for some reason, I never got that feeling. That's the reason why when I first started playing the game, I was like,
so you remember they had a crosshair bounce with like the old 1.6 crosshair? So this is like another little humble brag, but I actually got Valve to add crosshair style 5.
Okay.
By like directly like typing it out to Matt Wood, I think it was at the time. So crosshair style 5, I think Simple used it in a couple people and they add the dot or something.
So what you're saying is you're the reason why Simple's good.
Basically, I'm a incubator. I had literally, because they had style 3 or something before, which got really big, but also expanded while you ran. And my thought was like, oh fuck, if they could like keep it static while you run and bring it back, this is gonna give that 1.6 feel again.
Yeah.
And the bolt, because I kind of like, I think in my vision, you just see that crosshair bounce in relation to just holding the trigger, and you kind of just had a feel in 1.6. It didn't quite do it for me in Go, and I just actually end up using style 4 for static one.
That was also another thing, though. Like in CS 1.6, you didn't even look at the crosshair. You actually just looked at where the bullets were going. Whereas I feel like in CSGO, it's a lot more about
production? Say this again, Duncan. Can we get a replay production?
In 1.6, sometimes you didn't even look at the crosshair. You just look actually literally where the bullets are going.
Well, you see my crosshair. He's a big-ass crosshair. All these kids, literally every day, why do you use the main crosshair and nothing? Well, you know, for starters, aside from the fact that I like it, then I remove my crosshair and I show how you just you see the center of your screen. This is a reference point for the center of your screen. My gap doesn't need to be a speck for me to put my center of my screen on the enemy's head. And I go through the process with people and I show, because everyone's like, how do you hit a headshot from long distance? Well, you put the center of your screen above the guy's shoulders. And
that's actually one of the reasons why when I first started playing CS, I was always like, one area I was actually good in is I could always do no scopes with the AWP, because if you play Quake, you don't look at the crosshair anyway. You just know where the center of your screen is because you're always pointing it at people.
Hopping around looking at
so
items.
like the people who were like, oh, how do you do that? Like drawing a dot on the screen. It's like, you don't need to do that, mate. It's like you just train yourself.
I turned my webcam around a couple times because I don't do it a lot, but people I like deathmatch with no crosshair, and people he's got tape on his screen. I'm like,
no, you just learn
I'm really
it.
I'm really trying to get that spot on that team.
This is the big round right now. This is the round that will decide if Heroic has a chance in this series. Because if they can steal Nuke, that's so huge. But look at this mixed buy.
The mixed buy.
This is rough. They've got the utility though, so there's a lot they can do.
Talk about the match for a round.
Breeze is going to be behind him.
Last round,
this is a free kill.
He's been owning the entire T side. He's been like 100% the reason why NRG are in this.
So when I rang with them, I was saying his aim is nasty. It's like him and Nate have kind of that twists kind of aim.
Yeah.
That's rough. That is rough. I feel bad for the Heroic guys, because at least 2 of the people we saw here, like, it was just they walked into a bad angle,
Both of them having pretty solid T-sides today.
Yeah. I feel like there was more of like a, I guess, more of like a team thing for Heroic on their T side. Like a lot of the T side here on for NRG has been like just breezy.
I feel a meta shift coming right now, Ben. I feel like
T favorite Nuke sides or Nukes?
Well, because now everyone's doing that molly on the red box outside and stopping the wall of smokes.
Yeah.
I think the CTs are gonna like start deep mollying or something. They're gonna like try to like, they're gonna instead of they're gonna like everyone's gonna assume they're not throwing that smoke, so they're not gonna throw it right away. They're gonna throw a half wall. So then the CTs are just gonna start mollying deep and delaying the whole push.
Basically, like doing like the one the grenade. Pretty much people are doing now, like doing an equivalent of that with a molly
plus a nade, maybe.
yeah. I mean, if you have one guy playing yard and one guy going through main,
then you just give up ramp, play like 3 upper, have 1 mini, 2 upper itself, 1 outside, just 1 spotting ramp.
That could actually work out really nice as well, like, if you consider how the Ts would actually respond to that as well, right? Like if they get shut down in yard so heavily, like ramp's not really like the most lucrative place to want to go, because again you can get ramp room, but you haven't really gained much of anything, right?
How many teams like base their default off like, because like a lot of teams like of ramp, like a lot of teams like when they default and you think like late round work, you picture like that T wrapping heaven above the ladder, coming outside the catwalk. Like if they take ramp you could do something, but like then you adjust pretty easily. You just put your upper ramp and play passive outside and drop lower fast from ramp.
I think even if you have like that kind of again, if you leave ramp open as well, like you're pretty safe for any sort of like upper push.
I have no idea. This is where this was actually, that's when I love having like Sean or a strat caller on there because they love to nerd out on the.
This is a bit sad for
theoretical part of
Heroic,
it.
though. Like, Heroic actually did a very good job on this game. Obviously, it was their map pick, so it's going to be rough anyway. You lose it, but like they were in position to potentially win this map for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem is, you have got to manage that CT economy. Otherwise, you end up with 2 rounds to close the game out like this, where it's just depressing and there's a guy with a FAMAS getting his head ripped off by an AK.
Yeah, now they know that on T side, so that's why you see him do these like execs where I wouldn't be surprised if it's just outside. Even if they lose this round, they'll probably do it again. And this is where you'll notice, watch, Nate's here, but he's going to wait for his team to be T-red box swinging wide before he does anything. So they're just going to stay on the roof and watch that guy as Daps comes around with this molly. Then they'll step towards spawn. Peaks, rather. So they'll clear it. And even then, like, they're just fleshing out all their shit angles. And then it's going to be like, all right, let's fight depth. And they actually get a little unlucky there with that close position by Esatag it was. That's a unique fight right there, like to lose. Because if Cirque takes this peak first, that's completely different. So I'm surprised.
All of a sudden, this game's alive again.
Yeah.
this is going to be interesting.
Was Cirque just like locked in on stairs?
He must have been just holding stairs, but Daps just mollied it. So that's
the thing here is, though, like, obviously you have got to keep this M4 first of all. And then secondly, you can only lose one more person right now.
Just
Otherwise
to chime
it's going to
in,
be another tough buy.
I feel like that's like an energy issue there right now, like right there. Just to bring it back to that, like I feel like that's a subtlety where like you just pointed out, like Daps should probably just be holding the stairs, because if someone's gonna molly stairs and like push through it, and you don't want your op holding it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's a super
an AK
tricky angle. Yeah.
he might miss the shot.
Yeah.
Let the opper take a wide jiggle right here and get the kill, and that's one of those subtleties with NRG right now where they're not. They obviously know that. Like, we're gonna have that convo with them right here. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure, you're right. Okay, you guys got to make sure you're doing these things, then, you know."
It has to plant now, so this should be a win.
Yeah.
Because this guy should just
Yeah,
run
it's
to kill it now.
14.
There we go, yeah, nice. Right, the problem is, though, you only kept 2 people, and okay, you got the guns. That's at least decent, but still, look at the buy on the others. So you've got enough guns, but it surely is not going to be any utility on, like, I think 1.5 players. Let's have a look.
It's not going to be a great buy, but it's still a better one than what they had, at least.
Let's see what he's done. Show us the buy, will you?
So, yeah.
So he's got the AWP.
Mertz has been playing well out in yard as well.
Look at what Asilian's left with, though. So he has to use a UMP.
Yeah. He's going to get
This is a pretty
utility,
decent. This is actually better than the last 2 mixed buys they had. So
Oh,
to
absolutely.
be fair, this is a good chance to get back in.
It's not shabby at all.
Presumably they're going to just do that yard push again, so let's see how they counter it. Because now Mertz has actually got an AWP, and I feel as though like he's had a pretty good game now, but it's so tough to deal with that with all the smokes that you basically, like a smoke, in CSGO at least, smokes literally are the counter to an AWP. Like you don't just sit behind a smoke and do nothing.
And Mertz has gotten the better of Cirque as well, like especially on the T side when Mertz was opting out towards yard as well. Was getting the better of Cirque. So
I feel as though the last few months Cirque has been really overwhelming.
Ever since the player
His game
break,
dropped off a lot.
Yeah, ever since the player break, he just hasn't really been the same.
And the thing is, though, you can't complain about like how they're using him. He's getting all the AWPs he wants still. He's still in all the spots that he seems to want to play.
Playing like the same kind of role. He's just not able to connect as much. Guess we're not seeing like as brazen or like the same amount of brazen peaks as well from him as well. Again, confidence being an issue, but it's like he shies more away from taking these like perceived harder challenges or duels more so than he did it before. But that again, that's like one of the strengths as well, like with his skill set on the op.
That's a big kill.
Yeah.
That's a really big kill. I mean, this guy's already going to be in position, but I would take Breezy to win this fight right now because you're going to peek that angle.
Look at the damage that they've done.
You ready? Oh, they haven't noticed yet.
Oh,
there
body.
we go. That was the kill right there, I think. That just opens the sight right up. Like, this is pretty good, the locations they've got now. As long as Cirque doesn't just die for no reason. Like, don't peek into this.
The molly.
Yeah, this is going to be such a tough retake from the Rock.
They know that at least 2 players from the side of
that's the round right
NRG
there.
are stuck here, though. But yeah.
That was the round. Go to Asilian. Yeah, there we go. You can't win this.
No. Breezy with a 3K as well. Found 2 of the crucial frags. First the trade on ramp, and then obviously Madi in window.
Yeah, unfortunately the kill that mattered was the Mertz one there, because after the first kill, like, he's just out in the open, isn't he?
Well,
that's rough.
a couple solid T sides. First 9 from Heroic, we thought it'd be enough.
Heroic actually won both
from
pistols.
NRG. Yeah, NRG looking solid there, and given that fact of losing both pistols.
Well, the thing is, if you look, though, in this tournament, like we said, NRG one of the favourites for the tournament. When they played against Ghost, it was Ghost they played, right?
Yeah.
Yes. All 3 maps super close. This map super close. Like,
they're not blowing anyone out.
They are not dominating at all at this tournament. They're doing well. Like, they're getting enough rounds off. They're actually looking like they're pretty decent, but they definitely go through dry spells where the other team can get going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the benefit here is, like, even if they had a bit of a close game, this was Heroic's map pick. Like, even though NRG obviously
read it though, because Cirque is great at overpass, but he hasn't been up on fire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Heroics should be their map,
yes.
but
there's a chance for this one. There's a chance for this.
I see, like, one of the biggest strengths with NRG's overpass, and earlier on, was the fact that A defense with Fugly and Cirque was just so good that teams would actually just have to abandon the idea of ever doing anything towards A.
Yeah, that was one of the moments actually where you'd see, didn't Fugly even pick up the op at some points?
Yeah, they would do like some double ops every now and again.
That was one of the places where he was actually shining a lot, and back on even his old Liquid team.
Yeah,
like that.
I mean, and it's kind of like weird. Like, you have that heavy of a lockdown towards the A area that teams are not feeling comfortable. Either they have to spend so much utility to just get people out of position, right? Because they do play somewhat far forward at times as well, and you don't want to just run into Zerg's op. That they're not going to get the same kind of strength behind their push. So, like, a lot of teams just eventually came to terms with the fact that they just had to execute towards B the entire time. But then you had obviously, like, players like Ethan and Breezy just waiting for you.
So now, yeah, well, that's high level overpass for you guys. Hopefully we'll
do a little break, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's do a little break. Hopefully we see some high level overpass.
I think this could be a very good map.
It could be. So I hope these teams show us something good, because I'm seeing some sloppiness out of both of them, but the individual play is on point.
Yeah.
So see you guys in a sec for some overpass. We'll be right back.